whoever is watching, I am going to share with you something so important. Back when I was 25 to 28, which helped me transition from boy to man. I had like a victim mentality. I was stuck in places, and this one Dr. Paul Dobransky gave me so many tools to help me that I'm very excited to share this with you. I'm so excited. So let's get to it. Hopefully, you can see the screen I've just shared with you. And it's a set of 7 DVDs. The main guy who did all these talks was David DeAngelo. His real name is Ibn Pagan. And the books he recommends also took me to the next level in my life. So we'll go through that in all these posts. Every week or so, I'll do one of these posts and connect it to this text that you will be reading in the video. So let's get down to it. First of all, David introduces Dr. Paul Dobransky. He's the guy who created this system called Mind OS. And at least till DVD 5, he talks about all this. So he comes in with a sword and starts talking about signs and symbols. And we'll get through more of those stories, especially Count of Monte Cristo. So, first thing, after Paul talks about some things, David suggests to the audience to write down 3 problems that they're trying to resolve, whether it's getting self conscious with interacting with women, attracting the wrong person, things need to be perfect, or you can't be a success. You saw like imposter syndrome and all that. And before I carry on, I must say that David DeAngelo created this whole set, which is about W dating, cocky comedy. It's all about meeting a woman, being a good, it was that whole pickup artist thing, but he wasn't really a pickup artist like those other pickup artists. This guy goes more deep into self stuff, being a better man, all that. And the next thing they recommend is getting the Count of Monte Cristo 2002 edition. And the story is so good because in these things they'll talk about how you go from boy to man. You have to kill the boy, or the boy must die. That's the concept. And the transition between that, especially for men, they have to go through some initiation rites, and how this count, before he was this count, was very giving, didn't have right boundaries, and he gets into all that. So we'll talk about all that. Paul introduces Mind OS, yes, and he says how David's attraction isn't a choice, which is another set of David's DVDs, teachings, is the software. So Mind OS is Paul's operating system, and he's saying David's attraction isn't a choice, is a very good software. And observing ego, he talks so much about this, and it's such an important part of his whole system. Paul asks what your symbol is, and you should have one to know who you are. So his symbol is a sword. Um, I don't know what my symbol is. I have a few, like my logo is the roots are the heart, and the brain is the canopy of the tree. So it's all connected. So connecting, resourcing. Um, what does he say next? Next is to find what your story is and surrender to it to head to your destiny. Let's add a full stop there. So you know your group or your tribe. How are you going to attract your tribe if you don't know what your story, what your destiny, get to know yourself first. This is why tribes have initiation rites, yes. The meaning of gentleman. Now he goes into the history of it, about how gentle wasn't being gentle and soft, it was genteel man, to raise to a higher position. So either you're born into it or aspire to be one, and being comfortable with being a man. Avoiding conflict is not something a gentleman would do. And I think DVD 5 is where we'll get deeper into that. So the formula is to get mature masculine power, you need your observing ego, which is outside yourself, your personal boundary, and inside your personal boundary, you have that confidence. We'll see some diagrams pretty soon. This is the formula of a cool man who makes decisions, knowing what he wants, walks into a room with full confidence. They welcome failure and rejection. And you'll see a lot of stories of how all these successful people collected their failures. They like fail faster because you learn from it faster. Especially because once you feel the pinch, you want to do better, you want to be better. Symbolism of Bluebeard, French fairy tale of how guys would not divulge, or how guys should not divulge everything or give all their secrets. Yeah, so Bluebeard, the story was he would have lots of wives, and every time he would leave, he would give her the lady the key, and they were always curious, so they would go into the room, and that's where they failed because when they go in the room, they just see all the previous dead wives, kind of thing. A bit strange fairy tale to talk about, but you get the point. Don't show all your cards, is what he's saying. The story of Count of Monte Cristo, who starts out as a nice guy, see, ends up being locked up for years because he was the nice guy, and then the transformation into the Count is the initiation from boy to man, and the story has each stage of man's life. The symbolism of the prison is the boy's immature character and making a choice into diving or making a choice of diving into the cliff of the unknown is that's where he dives into being a man. The man that helped him is his mentor and who gives you the map to mature masculinity. And you'll see, like, you'll always have a mentor, you'll have some guiding people. So if you have the wrong people, they're not going to help you into that maturity. Okay, decision. This is a big one. The quality of your life adds up to the quality of decisions you've made. Any decision you make will lead to psychological growth, whether constructive or destructive. And there is a nice quote by someone. Uh, if you don't know what to do, doing the wrong thing is still better than doing nothing. Do the right thing, kind of do something. So in the middle, you have your current mental state, and then if you don't make decisions, you go into mental illness or psychological atrophy. While when you make a decision, you're psychologically growing, whether it is destructive or constructive. And because you have your observing ego, you can see, okay, I made a destructive decision there. I can fix things. I can choose better next time. You grow from there. Being present is when you most alive, making decisions, using your senses, feeling things. And I'm part of spiritual groups which say being in the present is the biggest thing. When we are singing or when we're clapping hands, we're bringing ourselves back to the present. When you're having the best time of your life, when you're at peace, or when you're just fully there, is when you're present in a football match, watching a comedy, stuff like that. All these happen in the now. Observing ego is what you have in the present, and that causes you to grow and be a better man. It's your real time eye to see what is happening. So you can see from that diagram, inside, that's your boundary. These are your resources of decision making, intellectual, data use, emotional energy, your healthy boundary. So whatever is around your environment, you're not letting come in unless you decide it's going to come in. And your observing ego is like, yeah, okay, I can see this. It's like your personal, who's that guy? Mordor? So the four parts of psychology, which he goes through in these DVDs, is these can be used to solve every problem you come across. So once you know, first of all, your personal boundary, I love this one. I've already made two different posts on it, and you can see the blue line at the bottom there. Deep in a game, understanding boundaries, politics, all that. So I just love this because I was not able to say no. I would let people step over me, come into my life without closing the doors or stuff like that. So this was so helpful having this boundary. It make um, it makes you more durable. Decision making will give you more freedom, especially when that once you learn how to say no. I also have links to that. Just do a search in my I think it's quotes on the power of saying no on my blog. Intellect and time will give you more success. Managing emotional energy will give you more happiness. Different people have different views on death, from mourning to being okay with what they've achieved. People say they want money, freedom, success, all that uh, will still not fulfill people. People say they want money, freedom, success, etc., and this will still not fulfill people. Paul uses one word, fulfillment. People happy with their death coming have achieved this. Hope this makes sense because I'm correcting my text on the way. If you have any questions, let me see if there's anyone with any questions yet. No questions. Feel free to ask if you do. Personal boundary. And oh, I already talked about it. So let's go to the next point. Liberty is decision making, and pursuit of happiness is self esteem. So liberty is decision making. Okay, that makes sense. And pursuit of happiness is high self esteem. When you have so high self esteem, it's when you've pursued your happiness. Your boundary is your personal country where you are the only citizen with your own customs, where you do your trades and transactions. So, see what I was saying there? You have a spectrum. So, if you master the two ends of a spectrum, you can master anything in between. Example, you have one spectrum of anger and anxiety. I think it's in the bottom there, the second line, the arrow. Or confidence and well-being, which should be okay, that's the first line. See the link above for better breakdown. So please go to that link and have a look at that once this post is alive, or you can do a search now, deep in a game, boundaries, politics, ethics. But whatever spectrum you're on, are you on emotional energy? So are you feeling confidence? I've talked about this in that other post. And confidence is your fathering energy, the one that pushes you. While well-being, you're nurturing yourself. Sometimes you've done something very successful, this and that. Now you're like, okay, now I need to take some time off and pamper myself, be nice to myself, all that. So once you know one side, you know the other side, you can find a good balance and keep it. Negative emotional energy, anger and anxiety. And you see outside on the sides, these problems are not in your control. You know that serenity prayer which says, give me the strength to change what I can, to accept the things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. So, know the difference of what you can control and what's in your control. Left brain, right brain, filled with education and experience. So, and conscience and intuition. And we'll get much deeper into each one of these spectrums. Don't worry about that. Problems you can't solve, you should let go, or you keep suffering. Now, the anatomy of a problem. I really wish I had a better picture of this because I can't read it that well. Decision based. So conscience, which is the rat, which is the hare. Intuition, which is the rat. You feel trapped. The problem, self. So all these problems are on the outside. Emotional stuff, whether it's hurts or losses, lead to stress, which lead to problems. And if you can't fix it, you have to find a way to let it go or accept it or surrender to it. Intellectual, educational, and experiential. If you don't achieve this, failure and rejection come in and you feel problems. Use the pick to divide a problem into its anatomy. Yep. So you can use that as a guidance. Control. What is in your control is in your personal boundary. When you have solid, healthy boundaries, you can see clearly what you can and cannot control. That's another important thing. If you don't know what you can or cannot control, that already tells you that you need to strengthen those boundaries. When you have solid, healthy boundary, you can see clearly what you can and cannot control. People who are on autopilot will look at what they want to avoid during a car accident. The idea is to focus on where you want to go. And this is such a good exercise because rally drivers and stuff, they're always told when an oncoming accident's happening, look where you want to go. Don't look because you want to try and avoid and you're looking there. So that's the wrong way to do things. And basically focus on what you want. Don't focus on what you don't want. Give more energy to what you want. The nature of suffering. Boundaries, spending energy on uncontrollable, which is out there. That is suffering. Whether economy, company, other people, you can't control all these boundaries. What you can control, your emotion, competence to handle things, beliefs, ideas, and your decisions, making the good and bad decisions which we've talked about. Now, stuck in traffic and getting stressed causes you energy. Yes, it does. And I have to remind myself. So at some point, it hasn't become like I know if it becomes a problem, I'll get a sticker which says, smile, you're going to get there, stuff like that, just reminders. But every now and then, especially like heavy days and stuff, my observing ego will catch that, will see that, okay, I'm getting antsy, I'm getting angry or want, the road rage. So I try and calm myself down there. Anytime you use the word should, is when you're suffering. I should do that, we should do that, this should have happened, that should have happened. That's not reality, so you can't control that. This is because you have holes in your boundaries and your resources are draining because you can say no or hear no because you can't say no or hear no. Boundaries and identity. Holes in a boundary will make your identity loose. Loose? Is that how you spell it? I think you spell it that way anyway. And you will be a pushover. Yep, I used to be that. The more preferences you have, the more healthy boundaries you have. So you and people around you know who you are and what you stand for. Vague language also means boundary problems. When women test you and you say no, they are more attracted because she trusts you more. Instead of, hey, you'll end up in friend zone if you're too agreeable. Because I used to end up in friend zone quite a bit, which I didn't mind because I had a long term partner, but at the same time, I still had to practice saying no. If you're finding it hard to say no, uh, one thing I would suggest is saying, let me think about it and I'll get back to you, or give me some time. I need to consider this because I see it's important to you. I just need to weigh it out. Just find certain words. If you need help with constructing anything like that, let me know. I will always be happy to help. Stress is a hurt or a loss. Expense is loss. So you have stress, which can be a hurt or a loss. Expense is a loss. Insult is hurt. And divorce is could be both because you're losing and you're getting hurt. Something is costing you, and at the same time, it's hurting you. with the insult. These could also be imagined. Of course, we have a lot of stress. Bruce Lee had a really nice quote. A lot of the stuff in your head, 90 or 99% or something, it's in your head. You have to learn how to deal with that. Codependence, being be it a person, drug, need, addiction, etc. Again, holes in the boundaries. You try to fill the holes with your addictions. Patching holes in your boundary will patch holes in others. Patching holes in your boundary will patch holes in others. I didn't get that, but I might just leave that there if that makes sense. So, codependence is a struggle with winner and loser. This is a boundary. You have emotion, ideas, decision, majority. Emotions, ideas, decision. That's the small one. Once you break up, and this he was trying to explain was that the lady usually wins, especially in the cases where it's geared against men to lose, get half and all that, when he's done most of the work. And he was talking about how they'll be independent, but you end up being a loser because you're codependent and you mix your boundaries too much. And wow, it looks like we've already reached the end of this one. Uh, Anybody else in the chat? Recommended reading: Signs and Symbols, an illustrated guide to their origin and meanings by Miranda Bruce Mitford. The Inner Game of Tennis, a classic guide to the mental side of peak performance by W. Timothy Galway. Absent Fathers, Lost Sons. I really want to read this one because I had some issues, but I don't think I need it anymore. I'd still like to know what it's about. The Search of Masculine Identity, Paradox of Choice, Why More is Less, Progress Paradox, How Life Gets Better While People Feel Worse, People of Full Engagement, Managing Energy, Not Time, is the key to high performance and personal renewal. So there you have it, folks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quit this one and say about 5 minutes. I will do the second live, which I hadn't planned, but I have so much time, so let's get it out of the way. DVD 2 of 7 live session coming soon. See you in the next one.